On today's show, Luka Doncic suffers a calf injury. But we're not worried about it. We'll tell you why on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
We have cracked.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Amazing.
Your team every day.
Still can't eat milk.
And welcome. You're locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show, making Locked On Mavs your first listen today. We're the best way you can help us grow the show. Listen every day on any podcast platform. Leave a 5-star review, like the video on YouTube, and comment anything below. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And joining me, as always, my co-host, media member, the three-man weave wonder, the one more thing king. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
You know, one of my least favorite drills in high school
Oklahoma?
was when we did,
Suicide?
It was like the three-man fast break and you couldn't dribble.
You didn't like that one?
No, you know what's much better? When us three are doing a podcast together.
That's right. And joining us as well from the great Slightly Biased YouTube channel, Big Tex is watching over him. What you got for me, Slightly Biased?
I never did that drill. They just had me camped out at the three-point line, bombing threes.
Still can't leave him open.
Yes, if y'all are not watching on YouTube, you need to. Slightly has this Big Tex behind him. And it's at this perfect angle to where Big Tex's eye is just a little
Just
periodically
creeping around the corner of his head.
He's staring at us the whole time. It's great.
Oh my gosh. Today's episode, we will get into Luka and his calf injury. We'll talk about some training camp battles that we're most interested in. And of course, we haven't really talked about this too much. We did some bonus episodes, but we haven't talked about the Karl-Anthony Towns trade, what we all think about it, and how it changes up the top of the NBA. But let's start here, gentlemen. Luka Doncic suffers a calf injury. The Mavs announced it, and the Mavs came out with it first. I was actually interested that it wasn't a reporter. It was actually the Mavs themselves. They're out in Vegas. They're doing training camp. The Mavs announced today that Mavericks guard Luka Doncic sustained a hit during workouts this week, resulting in a left calf contusion. Doncic will be reevaluated as necessary in a week. Stein reported the hit that caused the calf injury occurred in a weekend workout in Dallas before the Mavericks even went to Las Vegas. So it happened before they went to Vegas. He participates in day one of training camp. Then they discovered this. Jason Kidd said he underwent an MRI, and that's when they figured out the calf contusion. Kidd called it a calf strain. So if you see that going around, people saying it was a calf strain, I'm going to bet Kidd misspoke when he said that, because I'm going to go with what the Mavs actually announced, that it was a contusion and not a strain. Our friend Jeff Stotts in Street Clothes says that regarding Luka Doncic's injury, no reason to be overly concerned about this type of injury at this point in the preseason. Average time for an isolated calf contusion is just about 3.8 days. So 0.7 games missed on average for a calf strain. Isaac, any concern? Is your meter concerned at all? 0 to 5, how concerned are you?
No, I mean, 1. I mean, you want him healthy.
A 1?
Well, I'm saying like you want him healthy. So like I don't. Yeah. No, I'm just not concerned. I mean, you know, the Mavs announced it. Yeah. And, you know, shout out to Shams making sure to get that tweet out there right after the Mavs and that news.
He's quick, man. It's quick.
Yeah. Super quick on that. But no, I mean, I think the timeline of it helps a little bit. You know, with Steinson, it happened on Sunday. You know, that was before media day. So then he was at media day. Not that you can, you know, not that he's running sprints at media day, but everybody's in a pretty good mood and stuff there, including Luka. And I mean, it's all him dribbling, like soccer dribbling a basketball and stuff. So, and then he had a day of training camp. You know, Kidd said in his presser or his media session that he, you know, he came up tight a little bit. So that's when they did the MRI stuff. I don't know. I'm just not worried too much about it. So
slightly, you worried? You slightly worried?
No, I mean, it sucks that he won't be at Fan Jam, because that's the best ticket in town this upcoming Sunday. See you all there. But
that's right.
No, I'm not worried. I'm not worried at all. Honestly, though, that would be funny if media day they did run sprints. It was like the combine, but like for the media members. The media members like, yeah, he looked good. I saw him run some sprints. The media gets to test all the players.
I mean,
We're sitting there with stopwatches, just like looking at him run cone drills and stuff. Like we get to set up our own drills.
maybe in his rehab he can unblock you.
Maybe that's part of it.
He's got some time now.
Like maybe a sports psychiatrist gets involved. You just gotta let this go, Luka.
Yeah, get him in there. So Luka will miss the first preseason game against the Grizzlies as well. Jason Kidd announced that as well. But the Mavericks, according to Tim McMahon, are not worried about him playing for the season opener, which happens, a while from now. But yeah, like I said, no fan jam for him, no preseason opener. Does this open up minutes for anybody? You want to see somebody? Do you want to see different combinations in that first preseason game? Does this open up any opportunities for anybody else slightly?
I mean, I guess it depends. Is everyone else going to play? I mean, I don't know. I really don't. Preseason to me is such a chore to get through just because you see basketball, it doesn't count. And inevitably, you're just going to get so many narratives that get spun out of control because of preseason games. Like, I don't know. I guess Naji, honestly, actually, if you want me to answer your question,
I do.
Naji Marshall as like the 2 guard almost.
Oh.
So Kyrie, Naji, Clay, PJ, Lively. That would be interesting to me, but I doubt that we'll see that.
Yeah, I'm more curious about like the some of the guard rotation stuff. Do they just they moved Dinwiddie up in that spot? One of the things Dinwiddie said on media day was just kind of going back to that 1-2 punch type and being able to play with some of the stars out there. This is kind of a look into, also of when they signed Dinwiddie of, hey, at some point, Kyrie and Luka, hopefully not at the same time, are going to miss some games. So you kind of get a glimpse into what that could look like too, of do they move somebody else into the starting lineup for that, for that Memphis game, or do they just do Dinwiddie and just kind of run the same type of offense stuff? I would lean towards they move somebody else into that starting lineup. Kind of like a, Westlight was saying with a Naji Marshall or something like that. So, yeah, maybe it's a Jaden Hardy. Maybe Jaden Hardy gets a little bit more run than normal.
I could see that. And now, if it's Jaden Hardy, I won't take away anything from that. I think that would be more so get out there with the starting 5. Let's get your minutes up in the preseason more than, hey, this is what we're thinking the regular season is going to look like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think to me, it opens up some time for some other guys. Luka was just going to play some, he was going to play some minutes in these preseason games. And let's get into some of the training camp battles we're interested in, because that's the next thing that we wanted to talk about. I'm interested in the Jaden Hardy, Dante Exum, Dinwiddie, like that whole thing. I don't think that Dinwiddie is competing with those guys, but the other 2 guards are probably competing against each other for some minutes. Kid said that Jaden Hardy's going to get his opportunity. I don't know where he's going to get the opportunity, but at least he gets it now with Luka being out. So I'm interested in seeing that one. That's the first one on my list.
Yeah, but I'm interested. I thought the same thing about the Jaden Hardy opportunity thing, where I was like, where is that opportunity going to be coming from exactly? So, like I said, though, if it's Hardy in the starting 5, I don't know if that makes me feel anything.
But even if he doesn't start, like Luka's not going to play, so then Dinwiddie moves up, and then all of a sudden Hardy's one of the first guards off the bench. So there's more time for him than with Luka just not playing.
Yeah, the where Exum fits in that, Exum had such a good run in the regular season last year that he just, we were having conversations of him revitalizing his career and, his time spent away and how much he's improved and coming to Dallas and finding his spot back in the league and all this stuff. And it kind of I think sometimes we can forget about that conversation because it really died off in the playoffs. It's almost like he kind of hit his wall come, postseason time, and which, hey, it's the most basketball he's played in years when you talk about an NBA season for him. So I'm curious of that. I am curious of I feel like Dinwiddie's spot is pretty locked in as far as like rotation wise, but the Exum versus Jaden Hardy that one's a little fascinating for me.
Slightly. Have you come around on Dinwiddie?
I knew you were about to ask that. I don't know. I guess it sounds like
you're anti-Dinwiddie?
No, when he first signed the contract in the summer, I said Dinwiddie would have more DNPs than Exum because I thought in my mind. Well, Dinwiddie hasn't been good at basketball since he left the Mavericks. Like that's just the truth.
That's true, yeah.
And Exum was at times really, really good last season, but it sounds like from everything they've said and the way Dinwiddie's talking, like he at least thinks hey, I'm like the 7th, 8th guy on this team, and if someone gets hurt, I'm right in there. So I guess I'm wrong. I think I'll be wrong on that ultimately.
Yeah, but he could be bad, and then you could be right that he should be that guy, right? Like we'll see what it ends up being.
But to your point though, like it's not like they signed him to like some MLE or something. Like, he's on a super cheap contract, so even if he doesn't and it doesn't work out, then okay for the Mavs. It's not like they've put a bunch of sunk costs into it or something. So
there, Jaden Hardy, there's your opportunity right there if that comes up. Coming up, let's talk about some more training camp battles we're interested in, and one of them for me is Dereck Lively against himself. Explain why coming up.
I don't believe you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds you can use to get in on the action. And NFL fans, you're slightly a Cowboys fan. Isaac, slightly a Ravens fan. You can get a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. See what you can get. Put a $5 bet down, and you can get $200 in bonus bets. Guaranteed. Go check that out. See what is available for you. The Dallas Cowboys this weekend playing the Steelers, right?
Yep.
Slightly, you think your Cowboys are favored or not?
No, they shouldn't be. They are.
Isaac, you want to guess the spread?
-1.5 Steelers.
I'll say -2 Steelers.
Slightly nailed it. -1.5 on the Pittsburgh
job.
Steelers, home favorite. Go check out.
He's already used a FanDuel.
Go check out that one and see what is available for you. Get that $200 in bonus bets when you place a $5 bet. Place it at FanDuel.com. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. Appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the show. Go listen to our Mavs Media Day interviews. If you're listening on this podcast, I posted them as 3 different episodes. You can go back and listen to our Media Day interviews with Klay Thompson, Kyrie Irving, PJ Washington. Isaac, which one was your favorite one that we did?
Underrated, Quentin Grimes.
Very underrated.
Yeah, I like that one. That was a fun one. I mean, getting to meet Klay and stuff was cool.
A lot of people are enjoying watching the Quentin Grimes one.
Wait, really?
He's got an aura about him.
Oh, people are liking their Quentin Grimes. Okay.
So go check those out. You can watch them or you can listen to them wherever you're listening, watching this show. All right, guys, we're getting into training camp battles we're most interested in. Isaac, give me the first one.
All right, I think mine's a little. What, you already gave a first one. This is the second one.
No, your first one.
No, you said the first one.
Get off me.
You went out of. So all right. Mine's a little spicy.
Slightly like sitting there. Mom and dad are fighting.
Naji versus PJ. Like, is it going to? I feel like we've already talked about this. Maybe it was the pod we can't talk about, but like, would it thoroughly shock you if we're in like, I don't know, second week of December, and they're saying, hey, we're going to start Naji over PJ? Yeah,
That would surprise me.
Second week of December. You're higher on Naji than anybody slightly.
Am I really? Okay. Well, I guess my thing would be I didn't know that. I didn't know I was a Naji guy. Right?
yeah.
But
That's your flag.
I think the PJ thing, there's just a size factor there that I just think would be hard to replicate with Naji. And I don't think it's obviously not a coincidence that they traded for PJ Washington, getting a size upgrade, and then they got so much better on defense. And I feel like the team probably feels the same way. That would be bad. I'm telling you right now, if that happens, that's bad news.
Okay. All right. My whole thought about it was like, you have these 3 guys in there. You have Luka, you have Kyrie, you have Klay. That is the pecking order as far as offense. And then you have Dereck Lively that's naturally going to have his touches built into this because of the pick and roll stuff, rolling to the basket and getting the ball around the basket and all that stuff. Not running pick and rolls for Dereck Lively, or I mean not pick and rolls, post ups. Seen a lot of post up love for Lively today, and I was like, I just want to say very clearly, if we're coming down the floor and we're running post ups for Dereck Lively, the other team's going to be very, very happy. And has no knock on Dereck Lively. It's the fact that you have Luka, Kyrie, and Clay on the floor, and you're doing post-ups with Lively. But so then you have that like fifth spot, and it's like, what do you need from that fifth spot the most? You need lockdown defense. And with Jason, I mean, the fact that Jason Kidd's getting asked on media day, who's guarding your the opposing team's best player, and he jokes that Luka and all that stuff, but it's like. Because last year we had Derrick Jones Jr. Then we had PJ in the trade. You had a couple of guys in the rotation that could kind of were in the starting lineup who could do that. Now it has to be that spot. It has to be that fifth guy spot. So is it PJ? Is it a Naji Marshall? Is it somebody they trade for? I hope it is PJ, but I just wonder, and maybe I'm buying too much into this. We're 2 days into training camp, and it feels like there's a lot of Naji love coming out of camp so far.
Well, last year we were going into the season thinking it was going to be Grant Williams and Josh Green, and it became Derrick Jones Jr. at a certain point. So this is not like Kidd is open to making moves like that where we think, okay, these guys are guaranteed in those spots. These guys are guaranteed to fill those minutes. He's willing to move some guys around and try different things. So I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe in December I think I would be surprised, but I wouldn't be surprised if at some point Naji is starting. I think he'll start with PJ. That's where I've been on this. But
whoa. So you think Clay goes to the bench?
At some point, it could happen. I'm going to channel the kid from Angels in the Outfield. It could happen.
Rocco's going to be pissed.
I think it's tough. It's going to be interesting to see how they maneuver through this, for sure.
But I also think that Naji is better coming off the bench because he does have that extra ball handling ability that PJ doesn't have as much.
That's where I'm kind of at with Naji coming off the bench makes the most sense.
Slightly, do you have a training camp battle you're looking at?
Yeah, so I copped out. My battles, I'm interested in if there actually really is battles. Like I know coach speak and stuff like that. You have to say that, but I mean, the starting five, I'd be very surprised if they weren't pretty set on what they think their starting five is, and if there really is hey, that third spot, that 3 spots open, or Gafford and Lively are still kind of dueling out. I mean, that would actually be shocking to me.
Even though Kidd walked around it so much on media day, he was like, it's still those 2 guys. Well, we're going to start with Lively with the ones, but then we'll see what happens. You're like,
yeah, but I mean, you have to, I feel like if you're a coach, you have to make sure people know that this isn't a set in stone thing.
So that takes me to my next one.
Wait, can I add to that real quick? One more thing on that.
Yeah, that's right.
I think this goes into a bigger thing of like, with slightly talking about that, because there's something to that I think this team, I think they're viewing this roster as pretty set.
What's what Kyrie said?
And that's why I was looking up real quick. Kyrie's first or the first sentence of one of his answers to us. He says, I think starting on day one with the roster we're most likely going to see for the rest of the season. Yeah. I think that's a benefit. I mean, you have your star saying one of your stars saying that on media day, then that's probably a sentiment that they're echoing across the roster, across the organization team of like, we feel like we have a roster that can compete at the top. And I think all 3 of us feel that way too, but it's kind of cool to hear that. Doesn't mean that I won't tinker with some things in rotation, but I don't think I ever remember a time going into a training camp or a season to where we're like, dude, this roster's pretty set, like this is cool.
I thought I saw this and I just looked it up. Mike Curtis reported that Kidd said that the Mavs has started Daniel Gafford with the ones at tonight's practice, so Wednesday's practice.
Yeah,
so
well, he said he was going to do that tonight.
Second Wednesday practice, they put Gafford with the ones. So is it a battle or is it just for show?
It's probably about. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? I mean, the coaches are weird, man. Coaches are weird.
Who are you talking about?
You gotta ask them. I'm just a coach.
Kids not.
Our coach feels weird, but I feel like across NBA coaches, he's probably just medium.
He's been medium recently. This year where he said all this stuff.
I'm not playing. I'm watching, just like you guys.
Well, everyone was on edge that year.
We had a 4-man pod of me and Isaac and Tim Cato and Austin Carrillo where we just went back through all the Kidd quotes from that year. That's all we did the whole pod. We just went back and it was great. Okay, mine I'll do quickly. Dereck Lively versus himself, because what Isaac said, Kidd also referenced Lively again. He's shooting the 3 well. His post-up game is really well. He's doing everything at a high level with that starting group. And I don't know what's like of value. Like what is he adding to his game, how are they going to use it? If they start going to post ups to him a little bit too often, if the stars in the team are trying to push him forward, I don't think that's productive to what this team wants to do. And so it's Lively versus, all right, you're adding these new things, the post ups, the threes. Well, we still got to get you to do the bread and butter, the blocking and tackling, the stuff that you do really well.
I agree with that. I think the post-up stuff. The good thing about having Luka, right, is a headstrong guy who does have the ball in his hand a lot. We've seen this with Luka. If it's not working, Luka's not tapping back into that well over and over and over again. Like that'll be.
We saw it with Porzingis.
Well, I mean that's kind of different though.
okay. But the post-ups weren't working. He didn't go back to it, and then he got mad.
Yeah. I mean, okay. Well, Lively's not getting mad at not getting post touches.
Yeah.
Surely.
Can you imagine if he's like on the block and he waves off Luka, Kyrie, and Clay? It's like, I got this.
Airball's a hook shot.
Who's the player that waved off Kobe? Was it Jordan Clarkson? Or no, it was Jeremy Lin. Remember, what is this Jeremy Lin that like waved off Kobe? What was that clip? Oh my gosh. All right, coming up, let's talk about the team Jeremy Lin used to play for, the New York Knicks. They got Karl-Anthony Towns. Does it shake up the top of the NBA? What does it do? How does it change things? Let's talk about that and more coming up.
You don't believe you shouldn't be here.
People forget about Frank.
Still one of my favorite drops. Isaac's little at the end. Oh, gentlemen. The Knicks got Karl-Anthony Towns. First of all, we all agree that they got better trading Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo for Karl-Anthony Towns?
I've talked about this trade a bunch already. I've had days to sit on it. I still don't know what to think of this trade. This is such a head scratcher.
Where are you at, Isaac?
No, I think the Knicks got better. I think the timing of it is super weird now that it's like sunk in, that I've like thought about it more. I'm like, what? It's like two teams, especially looking at the Timberwolves. I think the Timberwolves side of it, it's more of like a head scratcher for me on their side than anything. Of you have a team that for years, like you never experienced the postseason since like KG stuff, and you finally get your like star and Ant, and you have like you get to the postseason, and you got embarrassed by the Mavs and Luka, but it's like just to like experience, just get a taste of that, and then just say see ya to your second star for basically like this could be a half of season of Randall. This could be Randall could like leave if they don't extend him, and it's just Dante and a pick. And I get it. Like I'm not a big Towns believer, but it's still pretty wild that that's all they got for Karl-Anthony Towns. But I also don't blame it either, because like if I was another team, it's like I'm not unloading the cupboard for him either. So I it's weird. I get it more from the Knicks side. I will say that. I get it way more from the Knicks side.
And for the Timberwolves, he's been there 9 years, and he's been through all that. He's been through the slogs of it. We talked about this on Locked On NBA today, and it was just weird that they traded him like that after he'd been through so much. He had transitioned so many times where he's the number one. Then Ant rises up. Oh, they had the thing with Jimmy Butler too that he had to go through. Then they bring in Gobert after he's been a center for a while, and he has to adapt. And so like, he did so much, changed so much, changed his voice a couple times, and now they're like, all right, now we're gonna ship you out. The biggest difference to me when I was going through numbers in this, Cat on post-ups on Synergy, 14% of his offense came from post-ups. He was rated very good. Randall, 16% of his offense on post-ups. He was rated below average. So like you're going from we can dump down to this guy in the post to Randall, who's got to have the ball in his hands in some kind of face-up game. And I think that's going to be an interesting wrinkle for them. That's not going to be as good.
For the Knicks side, I view it from a basketball perspective because they needed a center. It does make sense next to Brunson. Cat's like pick and pop numbers are absurd. I did see someone like lay it out because of Cat's contract and all the stuff they've given up this offseason, all the contracts they've given up to, is like they are committing, and they had a huge offseason and trade deadline, if you want to go back to OG, where you're getting a couple guys who maybe one of them makes an all-star game in the next 4 or 5 years out of that trio. And when you think about it that way, it's a risky, like their offseason, I think, is a little overrated, and I think it's riskier than people are letting on because OG's hurt all the time. Cat has not been good in the playoffs in his career. And, Mikal Bridges, it's been a while since he's been a defensive player of the year level guy. Like, it's been since Phoenix. Now, granted, that wasn't really his fault in Brooklyn. But from Minnesota's stand,
what do you want him to do over there?
This is the salary maneuver. Like, there's no other way to look at it.
No. Chris Finch said it's extremely important to recognize this deal is not a money deal. This deal in totality checks a lot of boxes for us.
Did you really say that?
Yeah. My question is, what boxes does it check for the Timberwolves?
I like Dante on that team a lot.
I do too.
Yeah, I mean Dante's actually really nice on the Timberwolves for sure.
Yeah.
The Julius Randle thing is a little bit bizarre. They said today that he was going to start for them, and it's funny because I saw a bunch of Timberwolves fans like, no, it's going to be Dante's the sixth man now, and Julius Randle's like the eighth man. I'm like, you're out of your mind if you think
the eighth man. He's two-time All-NBA guy.
You're out of your mind if you think that's what's going to be happening here, at least at the start of the season. God, he needs the ball in his hands, like to do any of the stuff Julius Randle does.
I can't wait till he waves off Ant.
Yeah, it's gonna happen a lot. This isn't Cat. This isn't like Cat. I can space the floor and catch and shoot, or pick and pop threes. Like, give me the ball so I can do the things that you want me to do.
So, way I've looked at it from the Knicks angle, and this is where I've been more sold on it from the Knicks angle, is if you remove looking through it from the glasses of, hey, they're investing into a second star of what Cat was kind of viewed as before, and you're like, if you're viewing it as, dude, they went out and got their second star with Brunson, then I think you're going to be very underwhelmed. I think if we look at it and say they took Randall's contract, somebody that they didn't have last year whenever they made their big run at the end of the season and playoffs and all that stuff. They took somebody who wasn't there last year, added Dante DiVincenzo to that, who was, if you look at going into this season, he's your fourth best player. Maybe it's Josh Hart. So then he's your fifth best player, maybe. So you're saying you're taking a salary who wasn't there last year. You're taking your fourth or fifth best player this year with a protected pick that, it might turn into a second round pick and upgrading your center spot to Karl-Anthony Towns. I think that's the way I've kind of viewed it as if you're the Knicks, you're sitting there saying dude, the cost isn't yes, salary wise and all that, but you already have the pieces that I care about the most. I think that's the thing. I love the tandem of OG and Mikal. I love Jalen Brunson. So I'm yeah, sure.
You're not worried about 2027 when Cat makes $61 million, OG makes 45, and Brunson makes 40.
What's your who else are you waiting for? They're looking at it and it's
the Knicks, Zion, Giannis, KD, Luka.
Luka.
It's risky, yes, but it's still a risk I kind of get, and I don't even like Towns. So I'm sure, go challenge Boston.
Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny to hear all these people start defending Towns and putting him up there as one of these great players? And when the whole time we've been Ant has to step up as their number one.
Yeah, but Julius Randle, I think it's more negative reception around the league than Cat. That's what's funny about the trades. It's two guys where everyone's just ugh. Yeah. Your team traded for either of those guys. I have famously said if the Mavs ever traded for Cat, I would do an 8-hour live stream where all I did was Luka Doncic mock trades.
Well, Randall's from Dallas. There's so many Mavs fans that wanted Randall for such a long time.
Yeah.
Who would you rather have on the Mavs right now, Randall or Cat?
Cat, easily.
You wouldn't do the 8-hour stream?
It's just hard to find a fit for Randall because Randall's a good playmaker. He can be, when he's going, he is really efficient, gets downhill, gets to the rim, can shoot, can create for himself, but he has to have the ball in his hands. And it's just next to Kyrie and Luka, that would be weird.
When it's Maxey and Gafford for Randall, are you going to be upset?
Maxey and Gafford.
Speaking of Maxey is out of training camp right now.
Wait, who else was the other guy who had
Kessler Edwards?
Kessler Edwards.
From a Mavs perspective, though, I like it for the Timberwolves because I do think the Timberwolves got a little worse. So
yeah.
And Randall's not a playoff riser guy either, and it changed their spacing. The Mavs struggle with the Cat Nas Reed lineups, and now those are gone.
Yeah, that That's a spooky thing. I like Bill Simmons' take that this is bad for the Nuggets because it shows that the one team in the league that said, all right, we're building ourselves to beat the Nuggets, decided, yeah, we don't need to care about that anymore.
Yeah, we don't care. It's all right. They can just give the ball to Rudy. Rudy's got it.
Yeah, I mean, this is gonna be this point of the offseason that's the most bizarre part of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like right before training camp. They're not going to be there they're not even there for media day because it's so late.
And they're not even, are they even there technically? Because is the trade even finalized?
No.
I don't know. They had to do that weird thing. So did you see the thing that they did with this trade?
Sign a trade where they're paying everyone $1 over the minimum.
Fred Katz reported for The Athletic, the Knicks have discovered a new loophole in the CBA. Teams in their situation, since they're in the second apron, can't aggregate minimum contracts. So they did sign and trades with 3 guys. They gave them $1 over the veteran minimum so that they could aggregate them in trade so it doesn't violate it, violate the CBA.
It's pretty smart.
It is pretty smart.
Don't you hate how smart the Knicks front office has been lately?
I mean, this goes back to, I don't know if I said it on this podcast, but I don't think there are dumb front offices anymore, at least the way that there used to be.
No,
there used to be a handful of just stupid front offices that did not know what they were doing.
Back when like Bill Simmons was writing for like Page 2 or whatever, and he would write about the Timberwolves and Khan, like back when he used to do that, and like the Timberwolves passed on Curry twice for 2 different point guards.
Yeah.
I mean, although we did just see a former GM say that the jury's still out on whether he should have picked Luka Doncic or
former
to pair with De'Aaron Fox. So it's not that long ago that Vlade Divac was part of a front office.
Does he not still work for them in a way?
I don't know.
Let me go to LinkedIn real quick.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that's true. Vlade Divac was a special kind of stupid when it came to running a team.
Someone hire him, please.
Yes. Because he was at that game. He was sitting like one row up.
2017. He hasn't been part of them since 2017.
That's a lie. He was there for
draft was
Luka's
2018.
Hold on.
LinkedIn
They got so many
wrong.
different titles in the front office now. Like it's hard to know who's who.
Yeah. I mean, Frank Vogel's on staff now as a coaching consultant. So
yeah, so does that.
You guys with that?
I'm all in on that.
Yeah, for sure. That's incredible. Like that's actually really good.
Yeah.
I think you want to know something by conspiracy brain. I think it shows
he stepped down August 2020.
Okay.
That's not that long ago. But what's your conspiracy? Okay, right, I got the music ready.
Well, I guess this can't really be true because Frank Vogel's the head coach of the Suns last year. But if it weren't for the Mavs finals run, there's no way Kid would have been cool with this. No way.
With Frank Vogel coming in?
Yeah, because that screams, oh, we're
Shadow
2 games
coach.
below 500 in January. We already got Frank Vogel here.
Also, he's a consultant. It's not like he's an assistant.
I know, it's about to ask, so he's not going to be on the bench.
No.
It was kind of weird hearing how Kid talked about him though in post game because I saw the clips and stuff before I saw the media session, and I was like, oh, okay, is he really on staff? Like, is he just at practice? And then hearing Kid talk about him, I mean, Kid was like talking about him. He is on board and he is with the Mavs now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well, I think it's the same thing like Dennis Lindsey in the front office a couple years ago, right? Like last year. He maybe had a more official role, but I mean, we'll
see if Vogel's on that bench. It's possible.
I think Lindsey was, a little bit more hands-on than a consultant, but I view
okay, Haralabob then.
Oh gosh.
There you go.
Definitely more hands-on.
Let us know. Well, Josh Green knows all about that. Let us know in the comment section which training camp battle are you most interested in. Go check out the Slightly Biased YouTube channel. Great stuff all the time. Not doing an 8-hour stream where he does Luka trades because Kat is on the Mavericks back then. You don't have to worry about that.
He's on the Knicks now, so the Nick Maverick pipeline is it's open.
Still
so wait, you would do the 8-hour stream because you would be so excited to build around Kat?
No, the stream was where are we trading Luka in 2 years?
Because the team was ruined. Go check out all that.
2 or 3 years ago.
Go listen to all of our Media Day interviews. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. 3-Man Weave.
Peace out.
Boom.
Go Liberty.